Welcome to Inside Auto Podcast, where we feature everyone and anyone you'd want to talk to in and out of the automotive industry.
Ilana Shabtay here, host of Inside Auto Podcast, where we interview top dealers, GMs, marketers, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders in and out of the automotive industry. Before we introduce today's guest, this episode is sponsored by AutoLeadStar.com. AutoLeadStar is automotive's first and leading customer data and experience platform, CDXP. Top dealers invest in CDXPs to unify dealership data sources, automatically create one-to-one customized journeys, and execute omnichannel shopping experiences. It's an all-in-one connected platform. Today, we're welcoming Erin Sparks to the show, who I had the pleasure of meeting at ASOTU a couple weeks ago. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all the way in Michigan. So I recently met Erin at ASOTU the first ASOTU in Philly in September. She is the marketing director for DeNooyer Automotive family in Kalamazoo, Michigan. She has nearly 15 years of marketing experience and is now responsible for the function and performance of the dealership group's website, analytics, digital and traditional advertising, social media, and public outreach. Well, it's a lot of responsibilities. I'm excited that you're going to share some of that with us today. She does also manage the marketing team and helps to lead the service business development department. She's originally from Wisconsin, was previous college volleyball player. That's really cool. And frequent party planner. So you should call her up for your next party. Are you still doing that?
Well, it's more of a side thought than anything else.
But you bring a lot of marketing experience to the automotive industry. You were on the agency side prior, and you represented the automotive sector. I'd love to know how that experience affects your decision making for the group.
Yeah,
a lot of people go from inside the dealership to marketing, and I think you bring a different perspective. And I'd love to hear that how that influences your position.
Yeah, I mean, I think that helps me to get a healthy questioning of what other vendors and partners say. There is a true distinction for me between a vendor and a partner. And so when I because I know what I expected out of myself when I was working with dealers. And so now that I am a dealer, in essence, I know what I expect from those that are calling on me. And honestly, I just like real people that are going to shoot me straight and are going to not waste my time. And please don't read from a card that's going to be 7 miles long. You're a human and I'm human. And I think that kind of is helping me to help even guide the people that work with us to hopefully be a partner rather than just a vendor. If you're a vendor for me, you probably won't last long.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's an important approach. And you just took on 2 more stores from the group. So congratulations on that. Are you going to take more? I'd love to hear about your strategy on a high level. I'd also love to know, are you going to kind of approach it with every store as kind of individual, or you want to take more of like a corporate approach and, everything is the same for across all four stores? I'd love to know what that's going to be like for you. And you might not have decided yet. I don't know.
Well, I mean, so I had 2 stores previously in our group, and I just added 2 more stores from the group into my fold, I guess you would say. And I think that gives me a unique experience because the 2 that I have currently that were my elder 2 are 2 very different stores. It's a Ford brand and a Chevy brand. And while, yes, they have a lot in common in some ways, their location, their people, their thought processes are still very different. And so I think that each dealership rooftop needs to be treated as a individual culture center hub in and of itself with an overarching culture of the brand as a whole. So there's some true and strong beliefs that we have as a dealership group, but how those are enacted day to day inside each of those dealerships is still it's a very wide swath of how that happens. So how something happens at our Chevy store is not going to probably be the same as how it happens at Jaguar or at Toyota or at our Ford store, which is okay. So kind of having an understanding for both.
Yeah, I think that also allows you to be more flexible and just really focus on the performance of the store rather than, I must have, the same thing throughout my entire group, which I know sometimes is an approach, which I value for if that works for that type of group. But I do understand, put the store's needs first and the performance first. And, something that works for performance in one store might not work for another one. You have to know your audience. I think that's really smart.
Sorry. I think a really good analogy for that, that I learned early on, was that you kind of look at your entity and your business as like a highway, right? You have the highway and say you're in a tunnel or anything like that. You can't jump off the side and go completely rogue. So you've got some barriers there that are going to keep you all going in the same direction. But that doesn't mean you all have to be in the same lane.
Yep. Love it. That's great. I might use that. I might do that. I love that. Now, you are also a founding member of Autogenius, which is a community within automotive, fairly new. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what that means to you, what your involvement is. Does it influence anything that you decide for the group or for a specific store? Tell us a little bit about the Autogenius community.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing I can say is I am not the smartest person in the room. I have opinions just like everyone else. And that is what I love about Autogenius is that Kyle and Paul, amazing guys. They are pushing boundaries in ways that maybe I'm not brave enough to do on my own. But together, as part of this group, we're doing really cool, big, different things than what most automotive industry groups, professionals, organizations are doing. And I love that because, me on my own, I'm probably not brave enough to do it all on my own.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure.
But then again, there's that thing too, coming from outside to a dealership, I can't tell you how many times somebody has said to me like, oh, you don't know that you're not from a dealership. You don't know that. And it doesn't matter. People still want to be treated with respect. People want to be
100%. And honestly, that to me is like a level up, meaning you bring different perspective, which is you're in a dealership and you've been in the dealership and you've been outside of the dealership. And that gives you a much better perspective of, how humans want to be marketed to and your job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. 100%.
That's what I love about AG is that there's so many different perspectives done respectfully, mostly even probably too many jokes, but I mean, there's so many smart people doing so many great things. And I just love that.
Yeah. And it's nice to have a community that you can even just shoot a question to or brainstorm with. There were quite a few AG members at ASOTU, right?
Very many. Yes.
Very many. So that was cool. Was that the first time you guys met in person for a lot of you or?
Yeah. I mean, that was the craziest thing is all of these people that I feel like I've known for a really long time now, which I mean, I have, but only digital. I got to see in person, which was so cool. So, I mean, and being a female in automotive, especially automotive marketing, it's so interesting to me, that, you get to see all of these people, other females that are in automotive. I mean, in my dealership group, there's nobody like me in my dealership group and not even in my vicinity are there other marketing directors like me. So
that's really nice. Yeah, that's really nice. I was talking to so I've known Matt Lasher for a while, but from West Her, but only from meeting him on Zoom and working with him. And when I met him, I really felt like I had met him before. It only dawned on me day 2, and I was like, oh my God, I've actually this is my first time I'm meeting you in person, and it was such a weird feeling. I bet you felt like that over and over again with every single AG member. But it was really the craziest feeling. I was just this is so strange to me that we've actually never met in person.
Right. Well, I mean, side note, really, but we wanted to go see the Liberty Bell and I wanted to go, do the Rocky Steps and all that stuff. And I would probably do that on my own in a place I don't know. But I got there and the group, the clan is all there and they just, you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going. It's I don't know, but
no, you have your clan. It was really nice. And I was just telling people in the office this too, because I moderated a session with three really impressive dealers. We were just talking about them, Brian Ortega and Jeff Ravilla, and I'm probably butchering all their names, and Nathaniel Grecklick. And they did an amazing job at ASOTU. talking about content that crushes. But we spoke a little bit before the conference, but the second we got to the conference, it was like, I had my people, and we didn't even, I actually hadn't even met until we did like a one intro session because on Zoom, because we knew we were going to moderate the panel together, or I was going to moderate the panel where they were going to speak. And it was just right away. And I love that. I think that automotive has like a very friendly, family oriented feeling, especially if you're on the same mission, which is just like, let's make automotive better, which was very much the feeling at this conference. So yeah, I felt the same way. Like, let's go. You want to go to the party? Yeah, let's go. And so we knew each other. Wonderful. Now shifting a bit, let's talk. I can't believe that we're literally coming up to Q4 of 2022. It's quite frightening, honestly. What are you going to make any big strategy changes for 2023? What does that look like? Do you want to share with us a little bit what your thoughts are? And what do you think is going to be like the big change for automotive in 2023? If you have any prediction on that, I'd love to know.
Yeah, I mean, with all of the automotive OEMs doing such different strategies for EV, I think that, I mean, I've got 4 different brands with 4 very different approaches on how they're doing EV. But then again, our dealership group pretty much has a pretty solid thought process as to how we are going to approach EV. So we kind of talk about that we're going to be, I want our content and our presence in our local community to represent that from an EV perspective. So that's definitely going to be something that we need to really build out in 2023, is just what that looks like. How are we representing ourselves? I think we as a dealership group have a responsibility to our community to help them understand, help them do that, because EV's coming whether we like it or not, right? So like, it's not for me to have an opinion on EV. It's for me to have a plan on EV.
Yeah, but I love that what you said really connects with how you started, our first question of the podcast, which is you might do different things for different brands, but at the end of the day, there's an overarching brand and message that you want to be consistent throughout your entire, family, automotive family. And I think, you're thinking right. You're trying to think, okay, what message are we coming across, or how do we help our community with understanding EVs and rolling this out? And then every OEM will have their own structure based off of that kind of value and that messaging that you're putting out to the community. So I think that's a really strong point that others can probably learn from.
Yeah. I think another thing too is, for me, this is more probably a personal thing than anything else, is reporting. So you've got GA4 coming down the line. I feel like it's like, whatever that like saying is, like in like an lion out like a lamb kind of thought process. Like we're talking, the hype on that is huge right now. Like you have to learn it, you have to know it, you have to understand it. There's changes happening all of the time. If you're already in GA4, which I mean, as a marketer, you probably should be, by the way.
You want the data, you want the tracking to be there. So,
right. So like you be doing the things now, so you're ready for it then.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's going to be a little bit like in like a lion out like a lamb, that like you're doing all this work now. So that way when it happens, you're just like, it happened.
Sure.
So, I mean, like that's weighing heavily on my mind, because I want to do the right thing and I want to understand what I have, and that's a lot to undertake. As you said, there's quite a lot of things in my list of to-dos. So, that's something that's probably weighing heavier on my heart in my role, is just really understanding that, because it's not something that, that like my ownership group is going to see or feel, right? So
they live and breathe it. So for you, it's like, okay, how do I now communicate this consistently, but also stick to brand guidelines for each of my stores over the next? Yeah, that's heavy.
Right. And so like that's for me something in 2023 that I'm planning to really focus on. I said this last year, but I think it's like like year 2 is it's going to be the year of fixed operations. So 2022 was my year of fixed operations. We made some big changes in EDC structure. We made some big changes in just like how we communicate with our customers, what we use to communicate with them. I think in 2023, that's going to continue because service is a big driver. And as the age of vehicles continues to get older, the average age of vehicles continues to get older for our consumer market, you're going to have to look at those things even more deeply.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, again, this is probably going to be maybe even year 3, but service for EVs.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole nother project.
So, okay.
I just added to your plate.
So my mind's always going content. And I know Nathaniel. Let's just be clear. Jefferville.
Seriously.
I am not you guys. But like content is key, right? And that is the hardest thing to get content on from the OEM right now is like understanding what service should look like for an EV. Like what are recommendations for that? There's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions out there, but from an OEM perspective, they're like, I want to shout that stuff from the rooftops. And so that's a little bit, that's where we're working on some more clarity with that.
Yeah. I would love clarity too. I'm probably going to have an EV soon. I would love to know how to service it. We'll look out for that. We'll look out for that content.
Yeah.
Amazing. This was super informative. I love hearing from marketing directors at dealerships so that I can really dig into what you're focusing on. I think it's an exciting time also because you're taking on new brands. So we got to hear a little bit about what that change is like and how do you strategize. So thank you for sharing that with us. For those of you who don't know Erin Sparks, you can find her on LinkedIn. I just added you as well. Do you still play, before we sign off, do you still play volleyball?
Occasionally, not as often as before, but I love the sport.
That's really impressive.
Yeah. Now my time is more filled with whatever sport my son is doing. So.
Okay. Well, that makes, I can identify with that. Thank you so much. And for those of you who like this episode, please tune in Inside Auto Podcast. You can find us on all your favorite streaming podcast sites, InsideAutoPodcast.com. Thank you so much, Erin.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Inside Auto Podcast. Check out our other episodes with top entrepreneurs and industry leaders.